I want to go back just for a minute to my colleague's opening argument there about the light bulb. The government didn't invent the light bulb. The private sector did. It was the government's job to protect the patent for the light bulb. And back when it was invented, our government did that pretty effectively. But today, I don't think our government would protect that patent from being duplicated in China. And that's a huge problem. But on top of it, back when the private sector was as robust as it was, and we hadn't had the growth of government as we have, we had a very different situation than we have today with the massive, massive increase in the size and scope of government with the corresponding shrinking of the private sector. And I don't think it's an particularly enlightened position. I think it's going to leave us in the dark. And I wanted to ask you, because from this standpoint of us being the tax collector for the welfare state, do you think it's logical? You know, the comments you said, you made, I think not increasing taxes would be treated the same as government expenditures, all right, under your assumption. Not increasing taxes is the same as government expenditures. Human reaction is not going to be the same. If you increased tax assessments on people to 100%, would you get 100% of that revenue, do you think?
Congressman, you know, this is a complicated set of issues, and I know we're not going to agree on them completely, but I would just offer the following. We do not believe that governments create jobs. Businesses create jobs, and our job as policymakers, people involved in governing, our job is to make sure that we are providing better incentives for businesses to invest here at home and create jobs here in the United States.
That's right, and one of those issues is tax rates. Now, if we have tax rates, and remember, there's taxes on income at the state level and federal level. So if you hike that up over 50%, the idea that you're going to get 50%, the economic studies I've seen show that maybe the maximum is when you set the tax rates at 28%, maybe about there is when people give it their all in terms of their overtime, in terms of what they're willing to risk, in terms of how much they put on the table, in terms of not seeing the tax avoidance issues, and you collect more. But you hike that rate up over 50%, as we're going to do next year between the combined state and federal tax rates, and all of a sudden you diminish the amount of the take. So I just don't buy into your basic thesis that automatically you're going to be able to hike those rates up and see that kind of income. I think it's going to be it's going to be a lug on the economic engine. But another concern I had that I wanted to ask about real quick was Basel III treats many high-risk sovereigns as essentially risk-free. And I just ask you, do you think that Italian debt really is risk-free? We had the same problem under Basel II with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, right? I mean, it was treated basically as risk-free. It did not turn out that way, and it certainly helped collapse those financial institutions. So I would ask you your opinion on that.
I'm going to start with the tax question.
Yes.
I'll just offer two things in response. Obviously, we have to balance, since we can't do everything, we've got to balance two basic objectives. We want to have the best incentives for growth and investment in the United States by businesses, by individuals, and we have to find a way to do it in a way that is fiscally responsible. And if we agree, and I think we do, that our challenge now is to find ways to give a bit more reinforcement to economic growth and investment in the United States, then we should have a debate about how to do that. And again, our judgment is the most responsible way to do that, and the biggest, most powerful return to those dollars is to give businesses more incentives to expand investment, not extend the tax cuts that are set to expire for just that top 2% of Americans. But one just observation is, of course, marginal tax rates matter for incentives. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But we have a good experience to look to about the effects of those. And for the period I was last in Treasury in the late 1990s, when those tax rates were in place at roughly that same level, we had the best record of private investment, the best record of productivity growth, the broadest gains in income, and we had a remarkable improvement in our fiscal position. So I believe...
Even in a recession, you believe hiking the taxes?
Well, again,
I get it. But let's go to that last question. Do you think that that Italian debt is risk-free because
sorry,
under Basel III, that's the assumption we're going off of. That's got to be a problem.
Very important question, and
Yeah.
I respect your concern about this. And again, what this,
We're going to have to move on